Hello, I'm Paul Larson. The abduction of a young girl in Montreal sets the stage for more gruesome acts to follow in a story involving murder and cult rituals. In this author visit, former TV news anchor Bill Haugland invites us into the sinister world of The Bidding. Well, this is the second book you've had published since retiring as the anchor of CTV Montreal. What would you like to tell us about The Bidding?
Well, The Bidding, is a sequel to Mobile 9, and my first novel, which dealt with a reporter, my protagonist, Ty Davis, and his colleagues, and their brush with the mafia in the first novel. And so basically, it's kind of an adult Hardy Boys, in that this is the same cast of characters, only this time they're dealing with a cult.
A cult?
A cult.
Now, what's the significance of the title?
Well, the title relates to a ritualistic, I think, Kabbalistic ritual that this cult engages in as a matter of indoctrinating new members, and it's one that sort of, I suppose, it approaches the nature of the Stephen King, Dean Koontz kind of supernatural element that I wanted to have as I suppose I'd call it an underlying theme. It's not the main theme, but it's one that I think will attract a wider audience because it enables them to see beyond Ty Davis, newsman, and get into the cult itself.
Why did you want to write this book?
I think because, I've always been sort of an escapist when it came to my own reading materials, and going back as far as I can remember in the news business, because you come home from a day's exposure to some of the very sad and horrifying news of the day, and really you sort of want to pick up something that takes you away from that reality and into a kind of a realm, if you will, of imagination. And so this book is strictly that.
Would you say it is darker in tone than the first book? The first book dealt with the mafia in Montreal. Is this darker than that?
Well, it's darker in the spiritual sense. The first book dealt with, the mafia's drug control, Canada to U.S., and so it was dark in many ways. There were killings and what have you. This, on the other hand, deals more with the nature of a satanic cult, or a demonic, if you will, cult. And in that respect, I think it is definitely darker.
But if we go a little deeper, what is it that fascinates you? Because I know you've written about some dark things in the past. What fascinates you about this sort of thing?
The fact is that, I came a long time ago to the conclusion that there is a realm unseen by most, but let's face it, the belief in a religion, one or another, is prevalent in North America. And belief in God, for example. And so if there has to be an up, there is a down. And if there is a white, there has to be a black. And I suppose that in terms of magical thinking, that is the essence of a satanic cult. They practice the dark side of things.
Are you writing about things that scare you?
Well, you look at Stephen Hawking, the brilliant scientist, who said recently, controversially, that God is the invention of people who are afraid of the dark. And I think that first of all, I think he had no business saying such a thing. I think that people who have a belief structure get a great deal of solace out of it. I certainly do. And yet I would not preach to anybody about my beliefs, because they're my business. But as a writer, it's kind of fun to inject different things into stories that you're writing. And I suppose the background I've just described to you would account for The Bidding. And by the way, The Bidding, the title that you asked me about, is in a ritual where one demands of a demonic presence that it do one's bidding. So it is The Bidding.
Well, would you please read a passage from your book?
I'd be glad to, Paul. I mean, it's the sort of thing that I won't set the stage for the simple reason that this character, Serge Blouin, seems at this juncture in the novel to be an incidental character. And yet, as you read into the novel, you discover that he's part of a very important aspect to the storyline. So here it is. Serge Blouin was sure his overall senses had been sharpened. He sniffed at the cold air and surveyed the cityscape and the river below. He was certain the ritual had worked. He could smell meat cooking, probably from as far away as a restaurant along Dorchester Boulevard. There were voices which seemed to flow on the wind, and from his vantage point in the high superstructure of the Jacques Cartier Bridge, Blouin became certain of two things. He could see more clearly than ever before, and he could fly. The sun was low in the sky as he prepared himself. His ascent had not gone unnoticed. There was already a traffic jam on the bridge. 2 police officers were attempting to climb after him, and rush hour commuters watched in suspense, concerned about a potential suicide, and at the same time angry that their trip home had been delayed. Blouin felt a tingling sensation in the muscles along his arms. He wondered what the people below would think when he simply sailed over the St. Lawrence River and disappeared into the evening sunset. That was his last thought before he leapt from the bridge and plummeted to the pavement below.
Well, that sounds like a movie to me. What do you think?
Well, that's something that has always been part of my dream, that somebody will pick this up and turn it into a movie script.
Well, what is next for you?
Well, I've already written 3 short stories, and I'm not sure that I'm going to go through the process of completing them, because, you know, after you've published a novel, you have book signings and launches and all those kinds of things, and these sorts of interviews, Paul. And so I'd like to get through this before I make a commitment to say that I'm going to submit another collection, a collection of short stories, to a publisher down the line. Probably a year from now I'd know better.
But you may write a third one, you said. You may write a third novel. I
might write another Ty Davis mystery, and that's something the publisher decided on doing, a Ty Davis mystery. And, you know, as I said to you before, sort of an adult party boys, if you will, because a series, after all, is only a series in multiples.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
You bet, Paul. Thank you.
Author Visits is a production of Mountain Lake PBS. For more information about the authors and their books, head to the Author Visits section of our website at mountainlake.org.